Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. Hello.
Glass of Sekt.
Glass of Sekt. Prost.
You're making this in a whole event. I'm feeling kind of bad that I've only got a bottle of water here.
Don't feel bad. I am prepared because in these times we need to make everything an event. We've got
We do.
Soda Stream bubbles. We've got the Sekt. We've even got a candle on. We're
Got a
ready.
candle. Got
Got a candle.
ambiance is happening.
I've got a candle with like the pfeffermints going on.
Okay.
You know,
I'm
it clears.
imagining.
Yeah, it clears. You know, it's like one of these German constructions of the.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I got into the call with you this evening, it was a bit alarming because I came into the call and you were holding a red receiver to your head, and I was wondering, is she talking to me right now, or is she on a line with someone else? And what a cool phone does she have?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think this is the phone that you're talking about,
That is
Sean.
the phone that I'm talking
This
about.
is the phone. I am talking to you. It's not, it's important. It's a great invention. It's just hilarious. Actually, I found it, it makes people happy. We're in so many calls right now, and it's
Yeah.
just like it really confuses people when I'm talking on at work. They're just like, Alex, like, are you talking to me? I'm like, yep, it's you. Can you hear me? And it's really special because you can hang up. Oh, we can hang up right there.
Oh, you can hang up on the phone. That is very
You can
cool.
hang up on the phone, and you can even listen to music. So I can just hold it like this and then,
It's very,
you know,
very practical. Very practical for the mono listening experience.
yeah. But
We-
no, this is a pride and joy that I found in beautiful Berlin. Verschenken on the streets, like many things that I find in my room. There's actually that beautiful vase right over there.
Okay,
Found it.
so if you look at the
Found it.
video, you can see there's a vase that was found on the street side. So what happens is people kind of put their stuff out that I think when they're getting it ready for Sperrmüll or something, they put it on their sidewalks, or they just want to get rid of it and they say zum verschenken, and then you can pick it
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Well, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get rid of things here. That's
Yes.
a different thing. So you just set it
Yes.
outside and it's like zu verschenken. So it's like one man's or woman's or person's, garbage is another's treasure. Even this chair.
Yeah?
Look at this
No
beautiful.
way.
Yeah.
No way. That is an amazing chair.
Yeah. Honestly, I found this vase. I can go on my entire room.
You are kidding me. And that was definitely not all found on the street, right?
The books, that vase too.
That
That
vase.
that frame. I find
So-
everything on the streets. I'm not even kidding you.
So
That
you just
little
kind of.
basket, that
I always
basket.
feel.
We'll
Oh,
just
really?
go to my room. Yeah, I have like a little Nachttisch. It's right over there. That I found that. Half the books I found. I found. We'll get to this later, but my roommates are communists. I live in a Wohngemeinschaft, and
Yeah, right.
I found Das Kapital. So I have got all of Das Kapital right over there.
Wow. Collector's edition.
Anyways.
No doubt.
Anyways, so many things, and
So many things.
I actually am not allowed to bring things into the house anymore. I have like a little bit of a Schleppverbot into the WG. But yeah, so super verschenken. It's amazing.
Self-imposed Schleppverbot or imposed by your roommates?
No, it was a WG decision that Alex
Okay.
has a Schleppverbot.
Alex needs to stop bringing things in from outside.
All the vases I own are like super verschenken, all the books. Yes. Treasures.
Yeah.
So many treasures.
It looks like it. So if people are just listening to the audio, you need to go to YouTube and you'll see exactly what Alex is talking about. Otherwise, this whole 10 minutes has been pretty meaningless for you.
Yeah.
But you should go and check the YouTube video, because I'm always too ashamed to go and take that stuff. I don't know why. I mean, it's not like, maybe ashamed's not the way, but I'm like, should I take it? Should I leave it? But of course, you're living proof that you can find some really amazing stuff.
Yeah, so technically I've heard it's illegal to do it, but that's a whole different thing. We don't even need to
Yeah.
have to go into that. But honestly, no, I never feel bad. I put my stuff out there sometimes too, and it's like this great feeling of like giving back.
It is, yeah. I
It's
can
just
imagine.
gone. It's gone, and then you're like, oh my God, I made somebody happy. And then the
Yes.
box is gone. Hold on, I better, and then we'll stop.
So we're gonna see something else now. Hang on. Let's
Look how adorable.
Oh,
Look.
it's like, so there's like describe it for me what you're holding up there.
I'm holding a little gnome.
It's a gnome.
It's a gnome, little red hat. We've got braids in the front, bows at the bottom. I would say maybe about, 7 centimeters. The hat is larger than the body, and it's just the cutest little thing, and I use it
It
as a
is.
bookend.
All right. So there you go. Also found on the street.
Also found on the street.
That's amazing, Alex. You are
Anyway,
already my hero.
okay, there we go. Endless,
So
endless, endless goodies.
I think we've already had a full a podcast worth of content already. So I think
There
we
we
could wrap it
go.
up just here.
There we
So
go.
give me your background, Alex. Where are you originally from,
Yeah.
and how are you in Germany?
Yeah, I was thinking about the best way to do this
Hmm.
intro.
Hmm.
It's a long story, probably like a lot of other people also on this podcast. Born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. Not actually from Omaha, but Bellevue, because Nebraska is so large. You always say you're from Omaha, even though
Right.
you're hours
People
away.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I studied international relations and German studies in undergrad. I did an exchange semester at Philipps Universität Marburg, which is in the beautiful state of Hessen,
Hmm.
close to Frankfurt. And it was during that time that I just really fell in love with Germany. I was dating a German during that time. We met when we were in high school. He's from Hamburg.
Hmm.
And I guess that was kind of my first connection to the language because before I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't make any sense to learn German. At my high school, we had the option of German versus Spanish. And
Yeah.
I was like, Spanish is definitely the more logical thing. You're going to use it. Later did I find out, once I got a bit older, graduated from undergrad in Omaha, moved straight to back to Marburg for Fulbright to teach English there
Right.
and realized just kind of how many, different opportunities there were for foreigners, specifically even for North Americans, but also for, non-EU citizens, so third country citizens, when it comes to, teaching, when it comes to working or studying or all different kinds of scholarship opportunities. And so it was just this really like long, but like very deep and intense, like, love story in a way when it comes
Yeah.
to learning the language and like slowly kind of falling in love with society and politics and the zu verschenken and like everything in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I'm here.
Yeah. So I guess that's the story in a nutshell. And we're going to
And
get to, yeah, you mentioned right at the top of the call your Wohngemeinschaft and the people that you live with, and we're going to get to that. That is one of the things we're going to be talking about in this call, as you said. But before we do that, you mentioned Fulbright Scholarship, and then you also said you realized how many opportunities there are for foreigners. Now,
yeah,
maybe just briefly explain what you mean by Fulbright. I know most people probably know what it is, but
yeah.
just in case they don't,
Mhm.
and how did it give you opportunity in Germany?
Yeah, so there are all different kinds of Fulbrights depending on the country that you apply to. So I can only speak for Germany, but in Germany there were two main kinds. So when you're coming from your undergraduate studies, you could do an ETA, which would be an English teaching assistantship, where you go to some kind of gymnasium or Sekundarschule, Realschule, Hochschule to essentially go and teach German students English and teach them about, American culture, society, history, politics, et cetera, et cetera. And then the
Right.
other one is a research one, so where you would work with the university. And it was during my time when I was an ETA in Hessen. We also had a lot of time, not only teaching, which was a really great thing. And so I went to a lot of different random events that were held by the US consulate. And one of them was with the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung.
Okay.
Konrad Adenauer Stiftung.
Yeah.
Konrad Adenauer, first Bundeskanzler, 1945 of Germany, so big
Yeah.
name. And I was like, what the heck is this Stiftung,
Yeah.
i.e., foundation? And so looked into that and found out they have amazing, support programs, scholarships for master's students. So I did Fulbright for 2 years and was like, well, you know what? This is also an opportunity. There's, this great master's program in politics, economics, and philosophy that I found here at the University of Hamburg and applied to the scholarship, which was kind of like, the best thing I think to happen for my master's degree program and also development, just because I think going to university here and getting a master's degree is probably very different than it is in North America, but it gave me this like it was a very international program, so it gave me like the direct contact
Okay.
that I was kind of looking for to Germans to talk about like all of these societal things, historical things, cultural tensions, transatlantic relationship and politics. And
Mm.
so that's a little bit about, studying and all of those different opportunities just because, I mean, the DAAD, there's all of PAD, Pädagogischer Austauschdienst, Deutsche Akademischer Austauschdienst, all of these, huge think tanks, organizations, etc. And I feel like Goethe Institute, for example, they have all of these amazing different offers that I think a lot of people might not normally be aware of or think
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, Germany is such an interesting country, or might not think that it's accessible, right? And so I
Right.
think that is
Yeah.
something that is so amazing. Even people that I studied my master's program with, because I went in with German, they were also able to find scholarships as a way to learn German while here, while studying, and as a way to support that. So I think that's something that, yeah, I'm still amazed about of like how things ended up happening. I thought maybe Fulbright would kind of be like a 1 year thing. I would go back, maybe see what happens. And so that's what I mean about just kind of I don't want to say randomly, but in a way like per Zufall, just, finding out like about all of these different intricacies
Right.
of the way that things work here. And yeah, it's developing into working here and living here.
Yeah, wow, and it's interesting because I think a lot of people don't think along those lines, like you said,
Yeah.
when they're considering coming to Germany. And of course, you could get in. There's a lot of English opportunities, but if you have German, then there's a
hmm
dozen more opportunities available to you, right?
Absolutely. So I think it's like a double-ended thing. I was
Mm-hmm.
very lucky, and I work at an agency here in Hamburg, and we're trying to internationalize. So I feel very lucky that I am very fluent in German, etc., and have that. But also like the amount of resources there are for people who are interested in learning the language,
Yeah.
i.e., through the Goethe Institute, learning about German culture, coming here and working here. I think that is something when you do look at like the different priorities of the Bundesministerium, of like the German Federal Republic. A lot of it is also attracting,
Mm.
people from other countries,
Yeah.
and I think that's something that yeah, should be communicated more. I don't know how,
It
but here we
should be
are.
it definitely should be communicated. So where do you suggest someone who's thinking of going down this route starts? Like maybe it's a very broad question, but is
Yeah,
there a
yeah,
good place to start?
yeah. So I think when I started at DAAD, Deutsche
Mm-hmm.
Akademische Austauschdienst. I was overwhelmed because their website has a bajillion things, and you're like, holy cow, how am I going to make sense of this?
Yeah.
So what I then did was look at the Goethe Institute kind of like as a way to better understand, okay, where can I kind of fit in, or what are my interests?
Mm.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think going in with some kind of idea of like, oh, I want to study, or I want to work, or maybe I want to teach and do like this Fulbright thing, like, and there's also, I mean, I could go on and on and on about all of these different opportunities, interparliamentary exchange, where people can just come and work. Again, this is very politics heavy, but work at the Bundestag, so the German government in a way, and do all these different kinds of exchanges. So
Wow.
I think it's called Deutschland Info. I don't know a good way to do that, but they also have a really good Instagram page, which
Okay.
might sound silly, of just like all of these amazing opportunities and like helpful, quick info things, just because a lot of
Right.
times you can get bogged down by, all of the blogs, everything that's out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess, first of all, going in with like a clear mindset of maybe what you want, and then
Mm-hmm.
starting with an overall picture, DAAD and the Goethe Institute, and then going and looking at like all of those other programs and seeing how they fit for you.
Right. Well, I'll after this call, I'll get some links from you, and I'll put them in the show notes so
Yeah,
people can have a look at them themselves in that Instagram page, for example. We'll put it all together
yeah,
so that people have kind of a resource. So you mentioned that you came to Germany, you came back a second time, and
yep.
you also said early on that you it was kind of a falling in love with Germany. But what exactly was it, and was there a point where it changed, or was it kind of a gradual falling in love?
Yeah, I think it was more so gradual to answer that question.
Hmm.
Just because I had been traveling back and forth between Nebraska and Hamburg, since like 2009. And then I studied abroad in 2012, and I was like, yeah, this is like, things here are pretty great, to be honest with you. Like, I love that that there is verschenken, or even things like Mülltrennung, that you can separate the trash, like all of
Yeah.
these random things. And so I think it helped me going back home more so to realize like, that's actually not what I want, right?
Hmm.
Like that
Hmm.
isn't really fitting with what I want right now. And coming back and just, the more that I interacted, the more I did. So the more, I taught, and then I went to school. So I was a student, and now I'm working, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is actually like a really good fit. And that's what I mean by
Yeah.
like it was this slow thing, and I never really planned it. But then I was always, not like always, but generally every summer I would go back
Right.
for about 3 months and work, and then, kind of, see how US culture was working with me at the time. And it just turns out that here I kind of feel like a bit more geborgen and like a bit more at home in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. I function a bit better.
It's amazing to me because sometimes I've heard that before, and I think for me it was something similar. You just feel somehow that it's a culture that I don't know, that
Yeah.
even for me, I had never experienced Germany before. I moved to Germany before I'd been here, and even that I was just like, it just was kind of, it fits somehow. There's a lot of stuff that bothered me and stuff, but it just fit, like it just worked somehow. And it's interesting that some people could go to a culture. There might be a culture for you out there that you haven't experienced yet. That's just a good fit for you for some reason.
Yeah, 100%. Totally
Yeah,
agree. And I don't know if it's like a second soul. I was German in a lifetime, in a different life. I don't know.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's like that's how I feel, all the time. It's like, of course, there's always this thought about going back, but generally,
Mhm.
I'm like overall very happy here, and it feels really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And of course, your living arrangement is in a Wohngemeinschaft. Now,
correct.
you said, did I understand you correctly when you said communists in the beginning?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk
We're
about
very
your
progress.
Wohngemeinschaft. So before we get into your specific Wohngemeinschaft, Wohngemeinschaft, for those who may not be aware of it, is a very, very common living arrangement in Germany where a group of people, usually students, get together and they live together in the same apartment or a house or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But it's not just students; it's also people who may be working or at all different ages. So it's quite an interesting concept, right? Because in South Africa, it's not something that we had. I don't know about back in the States.
No, I mean, if anything, you do it when you're like a college student, but
Yeah,
you're like in a house.
right. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's amazing to me because like in the first apartment building that I lived in Germany, there were like three Wohngemeinschaft apartments, and that
Yeah.
they just happened to all be students, and it was quite interesting to see there were young families like us. Then there were two old pensioners living downstairs, and then these three Wohngemeinschafts. And it didn't always go together very well,
Yeah.
but it was an interesting mix, and it's just the done thing in Germany.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think huge for students, but I think so I'm not in a student VG or
Yeah,
WG. It sounds very different, I guess, in English,
yeah,
Wohngemeinschaft.
yeah.
Living community. It's always also like a weird like thing to translate, right? Because
It
I think
is, isn't it?
has this very like cultural meaning
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
also starting, in the late 60s, early 70s, when this like communal living coming together,
yeah.
da 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 da. And so, um, yes, I live in a WG with two roommates, Barbara and Horst. As you might tell from their names, these are a bit older German names, and my
Okay,
roommates are 65 and 63.
okay.
And I think there are two, from what I've learned, there are two different kinds of Veggies. The first one is what we call like a Zweck-WG, which is like having a WG or Wohngemeinschaft out of like financial necessity.
Right.
So you do it
Yeah,
because the cities are expensive. You don't necessarily like the other like the other people. So
yeah,
I would say a Wohngemeinschaft implies like more than more than two people generally, right? So it's like
Yes.
minimum, obviously, two. And then you have like your other classical vacay where it's like people like you want to do stuff together, like you want to
Yeah.
be like social. And so I moved in here back in 2017. So I've almost been here for 4 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And this is the other kind of the vacay where it's not the, out of necessity, it's more so like to do things together, to cultivate like friendship in a way, to have things to do,
Right.
of course, cafe and kuchen maybe sometimes
Yeah.
randomly, going for walks, da 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 da. And yeah, I think my vacay experience has just kind of also enlightened my whole, Germany experience in a way, because before I was living with my partner at the time, and then I found this couple also, for those of you who are looking for an apartment, don't ever underestimate the power of what is called eBay Kleinanzeigen or eBay
Yeah.
Classifieds, because that's how I found this place.
Okay.
And that's how I found them. And it was just like a couple of pictures and like a little text about, we're Barbara and Horace. One's a music teacher, the other one's a regular teacher. And we're looking for somebody essentially to share our apartment with, because it's such a big, it's a big space in the middle of the city. And so we want to give perhaps like a student or somebody who is, a new to the workforce, an affordable place to live that's quite central.
Right.
And so at the time I was a student, got in on, immediately was like, oh my gosh, this place is amazing, great location, seems interesting. I haven't, met them yet, but we'll see how it goes. And I ended up meeting them, and they were just the most, welcoming. I can't even like warm-hearted, welcoming, and still are when it comes to all of that.
Right.
And I've kind of, become a part of their family. In fact, their daughter is pregnant. She's actually younger than me, so she's 26,
Hmm.
and I'm invited to her baby shower. And so it's things
Wow.
like yeah, it's things like this. Like the past 3 years, without COVID, we've generally celebrated Christmas together, and we do the whole like Christmas tradition thing where you have to shut the door and you have to knock 3 times in order to come in, and then there's a bell, and then you sing. And so it's all of these things,
Yeah.
like it's insane. The reason why I opened the Zect is because like we do Zect empfangs. We do like,
That's
shit,
amazing.
like sparkling wine receptions for whenever anything happens, because you got to celebrate the things. And
I feel like there needs to be more Zect Infangs in the world. Like I feel like
I
that is something,
you have to, Mm, especially right now. And so
especially right now.
and so that's why I've kind of turned into like a Zect person, just because I've learned, they've taught me like, we go into the front to our Gemeinschaftszimmer, which would be the living room.
Mm.
And one time I had my boyfriend over, and they were like, we want to meet him. They had like a little mini Sektenfang.
Yeah.
And we just do, fun things together, play games together, and sometimes we'll eat Kaffee and Kuchen. Horst is now on a thing where, once a week he makes a cake, and then we take a break at 3 and we eat cake
Right.
together and have coffee. And so it's like it's a very, I wouldn't say this is like a normal vacay in that sense, just because,
Yeah.
every morning the first person who is up, they make the pot of coffee. So it's like this, and we share, pretty much everything when it comes to the kitchen, which is just so different, I think,
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
anything that I've previously experienced. And we also have 4 cats. And so it just adds, I think, like a completely different, caliber to everything. And it's just they're not like typisch Deutsch in that sense. Like
Right.
like just the most like loving and warm people. Like
Yeah.
Barbara, she'll be like, Gute Nacht, meine Liebe, like good night, my love. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
before COVID, because they're a Risikogruppe, like hugs and kisses, and it's just
Mm.
like, showing all of that to like a stranger, and then also meeting their family. I go to their family events with them, and they really just welcomed me.
That's
And I
amazing.
couldn't, yeah, it is amazing. And so it's like it's been this other experience of like typisch Deutsch, because when people are home, they're like, you must wear house shoes. Like none of us do that. Like, the door must be closed, and like all of the doors are open because the cats need to freely move. And then
Yeah.
the thing with the window, es seat, like it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's
It's drafting. It's
yeah,
draft.
it's
There's a
drafting. It's
draft. Yeah,
drafting. We
yeah.
never open the windows here. Like,
Well, I think I love them. I love them already.
Barbara's like, "Why is the window open?" Like, just annoyed, and I'm just like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it's just like, what is it? What else? I think the biggest one is like the doors. The doors are always open, and windows aren't like really a big deal. And then
and
there's no house shoes.
yeah,
So, yeah.
and it's definitely given you something uniquely or something unique in your experience of Germany, because you're getting to see kind of inside the culture. And like you said, people have all these stereotypes, and yes, it is common that they keep the doors closed, and there's a lot of traditional ways of doing it, but not every German family does it like that. So
Yeah.
it's so great that you've gotten to see
Yeah.
inside that, and to break down some stereotypes, and just to experience a German family.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an opportunity that many people who may not be dating a German, for example, would get to
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's what's so interesting, right? And we would have, like very long breakfasts where they would talk about, when they were in the Zex, like they did all of these protests, during Chernobyl, like all of these things were part of the student, movement, studentische Bewegung. And they were at all of these protests, and it's just like, completely getting this different opinion from them. Like I said, they are communists. So they've been living in the apartment for 32 years now. So for
Yeah.
the 30th anniversary, I got them like a little thing of Das Kapital. And it's just like, and I think that's why it's like this, like we share everything, and they're very vocal about it. We're very vocal, political VG, which I think is really interesting. And that's the thing, is like, even though like I don't 100% completely share their thoughts, we're able to talk about it. And I think
Yeah.
that's really important, and not only is it little things like they know that I love like German sayings, like Sprüche, like weird things, like er geht im Keller zum Lachen, like he goes to the basement to laugh, those kinds of things. And so
Yeah.
we collect my Alex's phrases and stuff like
Aw.
that. So it's just like, yeah, there's just so much. There's honestly like a lot of love and a lot of beauty behind that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
even though like they don't owe me anything, but it's just become this really, really special relationship.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think it's something that people should keep in mind with this kind of thing, because that's the kind of opportunity that you could have,
yeah,
especially if you're getting away from the expat bubble. Like I should
yeah.
imagine a lot of expat people might decide to be in a Wohngemeinschaft together. I was briefly in a Wohngemeinschaft with some Germans, but it was a lot of a Spanish woman and people from various countries just living together. But
Right.
it is nice to also have a kind of a view into the culture, and
Yeah.
it might be good to keep that in mind if people are looking around for something.
Absolutely. And I think it's also become a trend that, from what I've heard, has, kind of, has increased due to like, increasingly expensive housing prices, people not really wanting to live alone. And
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about Barbara and Horst is, it's not only like have they been there to support me, they've also taught me a lot of different things. For example, which I'm figuring out, is okay and is completely normal. They're married but not together.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so it's like this completely like different, way of loving, which I think, I don't want to say this is cultural, but it's like I couldn't say that like I would experience anything like that at home. And so that's
Right. Right.
like an interesting way to experience and see how other relationships can
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. And what I think is interesting too is I can't imagine a lot of people would look at that and think that is a good, like, I need to be careful how I phrase this because it might come across wrong. But what I'm saying is if someone is looking for a Wohngemeinschaft and they saw it was two Germans, maybe a little older than usual, I'm not
hmm
sure a lot of younger people would say that's my landing spot, or that's where I would want to be. So what was it about for you that made you say, yeah, let's give it a try?
Yeah, so I think, and that's an interesting point you bring up, because I remember when I was looking, I was like, yeah, maybe like a VG, like a, with younger people would be my thing. However, what I have, again, I don't want to generalize, but what I've
Yeah.
noticed is a lot of these like younger VG, it's like a party thing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm
Yeah.
not sure
Yeah.
what it looks like now, or, generally speaking, a lot of the Germans that I studied with, they were quite older, so maybe like in their 30s, 35, working on their masters, and
Right.
they were still in a Wohngemeinschaft, meaning that I'm very type A, so like, even though I collect all of the things on the street, it still has to like be orderly.
Right.
And I wanted something that would kind of, I didn't want fund Uber like everywhere. I didn't want like, the deposit stuff just everywhere, which is like
Yeah.
essentially like my image in my head of like a VG, with like
Yeah.
younger people is it's a bit chaotic. Like
Right.
it's essentially zu verschenken everywhere. You just have like random stuff going on. You've got like a Fritz Cola case at your table. And I was like, I don't know if that's what I'm
Yeah.
looking for.
Right. Yeah.
And so something that was like a little bit more established and not something I was working and studying, and so I wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be these crazy parties, which
Yeah.
is generally kind of also something else that is associated with the VG. So I think just for my personality, I was like, okay, this is what I'm used to, and I don't know if I can do like the young kid thing, even though I am kind of a young kid.
Hmm.
Um, and then I thought it would be a better fit just because, a little bit more established, cleaner, a little bit more of a pattern. They were also working and
Right.
not
Right.
necessarily too much partying, too much fun. We can't go down every Tuesday.
No, no.
I'm getting too old for that. Yeah, yeah.
But it is kind of crazy because those two Wohngemeinschafts that were in my apartment block, they were known for like their knockdown, drag out parties. Now, I always thought like, does everyone in that Wohngemeinschaft want to have that every single weekend? Like, it can't be that I think there were five students living in there. I was like, it can't be they all wanted to party every single weekend, right? What do you do if you don't want to?
You go to somebody else's house.
Go to someone else's house.
Seriously, and I was like, I don't know
Yeah, yeah.
if I'm gonna sign up for the whole Wohngemeinschaft thing where we're partying every weekend, whether everybody likes it or not, and then that's what I meant with like the fund. It's just
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, very interesting. It definitely is it's an interesting option for people because it's also you share the costs of the Wohnung, you share
Yep.
costs of things like the Rundfunkbeitrag and all kinds of things. And there's a whole lot of benefits and there's a whole lot of constellations that these Wohngemeinschafts could be in. You could be in a group of younger people, you could be in a group of professionals in a
Yeah.
Wohngemeinschaft. So there's a lot of options and a lot of things that you can look out for. And like you said, insider tip, eBay Kleinanzeiger.
E-bike, it's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to zu verschenken and eBay kind of thing.
Yeah, and
It's dangerous.
I can imagine. I
And
can
there's
imagine.
zu verschenken on eBay Kleinanzeigen.
That's like Alex is refreshing there 5 minutes every day.
Yeah, sometimes they give away animals. Anyway,
It explains the four cats, I guess.
yeah, exactly. No, they weren't on eBay Kleinanzeigen. They were on eBay Kleinanzeigen, but they weren't on zu verschenken.
So,
Yeah.
so Alex, you seem like quite a positive person when I'm talking to you. Like you got a positive attitude, at least. I mean, I barely know you. We've spoken
you.
about a few minutes, but there must be things about Germany that do frustrate you, or that like get on your nerves. Maybe give me some of those things.
Yeah, I think the one that, right now with COVID, that just drives me up the wall is the topic of digitalization.
Mm.
Auf Deutsch Digitalisierung. And it's, we've been talking about Industry 4.0
Yes.
for at least a decade.
Yeah.
And it's
And it's a
just,
German term, by the way. Industry 4.0 was coined by the Germans.
I know. And keep in mind, want to guess what? How I found out my scholarship thing, I was at a evening event on Industry 4.0
Okay.
because I was like,
Right.
I've never heard of that. What is it?
Okay, so
What's digitalization? And so I think, and that's just like, it's just this odd world, right? Because when I try and describe the daily difficulties I have, with regards to, and I don't mean digitalization in like, one aspect. I mean, willingness to accept a credit card, willingness to, um, send me an email, or even, like, could we maybe agree on like 24 hours as an acceptable, or 72, I'll give you 72 hours to respond to an email, or like, when it comes to the whole Behörde thing to respond to an email. And so I think that's just my biggest, it's not only frustrating, right? Because Germany in a lot of way, internationally is known as, innovative,
cutting edge. Yeah.
high, like cool, like all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
things. And I think that comes from one area, and that is known as the car auto industry.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and it stays there.
It does not has not spread to the rest of Germany. Can confirm.
It stays in Wolfsburg, and that's it. And nobody else. And it's just like it's this hesitancy, essentially of trying it out, or I'll go to a chain, Les Colbac. I didn't unfortunately have any cash on me. This could also be my bad habits from where I'm from, expecting
Hmm.
that card could be accepted everywhere.
Hmm.
I'm like, this is an international chain. How can you explain to me that I can't pay a
Yeah.
credit card here?
How
I
can it
just
be
don't,
in
and it's like,
in Germany?
in Germany, and then in a pandemic, like when we don't want to use money, and I'm just like, nope, got my card, and it has gotten better.
It
I will say
has.
that. So like,
Yeah.
tap on the shoulder, Germany, good job. But I think that's just the difficult thing, because when I talk about my frustrations with my friends at home, and they're like, "Well, Alex, I can't really believe that, just because Germany is like so modern, and
Yeah.
they've got all those cool things."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Yeah, never. I've
About
never
that.
felt that. I've never dealt with so much paperwork in my entire life."
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends, actually, I have a good friend from Estonia. She is moving back to Estonia, and she was like, never again. She was like, in Estonia, EU country, all of this is digital.
Yeah.
She goes, you just click a box and they
And it's
send you
done.
ACTA and it's done. And of course, Estonia is, really good example of digitalization and how that can
Mm.
work. Whereas
Hmm.
Germany, it's just this willingness to accept that,
Yeah.
and that comes with whole Datenschutz thing, which I think Datenschutz, is a very important thing. But it also hinders, I think, a lot of different progress. And I think that's
And
what Germany is also seeing right now.
yeah, and the Germans are paranoid about that. They're really paranoid. Paranoid. I mean, I understand being careful, but they are next level paranoid.
Everything we do is GDPR compliant. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
it's a whole different level. And I'm like, I just don't, it's so interesting, because I'm like, how did your brain go there? We're talking about the same thing, and that's where you are, and I'm somewhere else. Like, how did that go there? So that is something that frustrates me, just because I'm like, y'all could make this so easier. You could make it easier on you. We could make it easier on me.
It could be easier for everyone. Just
It's
like,
easier for everybody.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
speaking of economics, efficiency, Germans love efficiency. It is the
yeah,
most inefficient thing ever.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. So anyways, that's just like a mini tangent.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I think at the beginning of the pandemic last year, I saw that the whole move, like signs that I've never seen in stores before. We prefer to get your credit card and or debit card, not cash. And I was like,
Yep.
exactly like you. Hallelujah!
Like,
We have finally turned a corner.
yeah,
One positive thing about coronavirus. But it
yeah,
hasn't. Like after that, you go to
yeah.
the store now, and again, it's like the signs are still up there, but everyone's paying by cash again, and it's just like what do you
Yeah.
what?
And
Why
it's
missed
and
opportunity?
I don't get it. Or it's like the topic of like Geld abheben. I don't like cash. And again, I think a lot of it is from I'm like, all right, let's. The phone, let's do the pay. And
Yeah, yeah,
also that's the issue you have with a lot of companies that I just don't understand, is they're not necessarily adapting to Apple Pay or
right,
PayPal or
yeah,
Tap or da 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 da.
yeah,
And so that is definitely one of the things that frustrates me the most, because a lot of people, if you're a German, doesn't get it, expats get it, but the other people I'm talking to at home don't
they
get it.
they
And
don't
you
get it.
don't
Yeah,
get it until you're like here and you're like,
you
this
have
is
to
a
see it.
tan. Or can we talk about what a tan is?
I
See,
guess we can. Yeah,
not like a tan is in my, I'm getting, some
yeah,
sugar from the sun, which doesn't exist in Hamburg, but a tan code. Okay, so studying, when I had to register for a test, I had to get my tan list,
okay, right.
all of the codes,
Yeah,
in order to register for it. So guess what? If I didn't have my tan list,
mm-hmm.
I couldn't
You
register for an exam. Not kidding you. And the apps have gotten better, like, like doing the money transfers on your phone, where the tan just comes automatically.
yeah.
People I know, older people I know, have a
Need
tan
the
list.
tan list. Yeah, yeah.
What? Who
Out
came
of
up with that?
It's like 50 years ago, basically. It's like such a
It's, am-
decades old idea.
it's amazing it's still alive.
It is. It is. It is amazing. It's truly amazing.
Amazing.
Let's hope it gets better. I mean, it's like you say, it's gotten better, but it's still a lot of
It's
Luft
gotten
nach
better.
oben.
And ganz viel, ganz
Yeah,
viel.
yeah.
And I just don't, yeah. And so I wonder, it baffles me. And I read lots of articles on like why some countries are less likely to adopt digitalization processes.
Mm-hmm.
Germany is aware that they're behind, but we have all of these discussions and topics around it, but that doesn't lead us to doing anything. And I have the feeling it leads to less acceptance of things
Yeah, yeah.
in general, which which I think is like a very interesting cultural phenomenon in and of itself. But it's just like, all right, Leute, how do we get
Let's get.
behind? Let's move on.
I think we need you and like 3 other expats to go in there and just sort this out within a day. Like a day. Like this is why we're going to be doing it. Let's move on with our.
Got the business plan. Now we're going to go to the COVID vaccination strategy. We'll be back.
We'll sort your problems out. But it is interesting because it infuriates me in some ways.
Yeah.
Well, not infuriates me, but frustrates me because right now in the pandemic, there's all these little lardens, like smaller shops that are struggling because they don't have business. Where I said, like, if you guys, it's so easy to put some kind of online shop on or app or just
Or even the
that.
Instagram page.
Just something, or an Instagram page, or just this is your livelihood. All you need to do is just branch out into some form of digitalization. And there's some costs. Maybe you need to set up an e-store or something, but it's not that expensive, and you could maybe make up, because people also at this time, I'm finding a lot of Germans want to support local because of the coronavirus and people struggling. They do want to support local. And if you had your store online, your little Laden, people could support you. And it's just, I feel like they're missing it.
Yeah, the infrastructure, and I don't, but that's the other, that's the thing, is like, and I think that comes to like the entire like, vaccine communication is, it's just, it's like you got to register online, but it's just like the lack of like dealing with it. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Again, I think a lot of it is, what are the students learning in school? Are they learning how to type? I mean, I was taking typing classes, in the 3rd grade. And here, I see the finger pecking. So it's just like a completely different interaction with technology from a very young age on.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe, with like homeschooling and people being at home and having to do Zoom calls and that will get better.
That is changing, because my daughter is going to school next in September. She'll start school for the first time, and she just got a whole bunch of notes saying that she's going to get an Office 365 account. She's going to get like everything in it, and I don't know how, like, they're not giving them devices, or they haven't asked us to buy a device, but it's definitely, this is the first group of kids going to school in our area, at least. In the cities, I guess it's different. I live ländlich, I'm quite rural, but in our school, this is the first year that they're doing that. Like a lot of and I was like, okay, that's not bad, because this is what these kids are going to be using in 20 years time. It's like word processors, I mean, whatever they look like then, but start them young. So I think it is getting more digital now in the schools.
Is, and actually, I don't know if this is like a whole tangent, but when I was teaching, that was something that I noticed, is there was one computer lab, and there was also no internet. And so there was, if I wanted to present something, which like, I need pictures, and in the schools, they just had the chalkboards and, no beamer, no thing
projector.
No projector. And so it was like the overhead projectors, and I was like, well, I can't draw a picture. And so what I know, and I was like, why is this happening? And a lot of the teachers said, okay, the reason why like digitalization isn't happening at a larger scale is because in order to ensure like solidarity among other schools and equal treatment, they would have to provide all of the schools with the exact same equipment, which they can't.
Okay.
And so it's like it provided me with like this insight of like, oh my God, why is this not happening? How are there no laptops? Like, how are there no, all of these things? Students were still presenting on posters. So yeah, it's a completely different thing, and it's just, I love Germany. I also love to be critical because I love Germany. Yeah. And I'm like, Leute, I know you can get there. I know you can.
You just have to wanna.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to want to do it and like make that investment. Absolutely. Yeah.
I always say on this podcast with guests that we're allowed to criticize Germany because we've made the decision to stay here. We love this country. everything we say is with love. We're saying it with love.
Yeah. I mean, there's all
Yeah.
kinds, like I do it out of love. I do it or else
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things you mentioned when we were chatting before this call is how difficult it is to be a consumer in Germany. I mean, that
So
kind of
hard.
ties in to here. So maybe you want to speak a bit about that.
It even happened today. Like, not only, like, I'm going to leave COVID aside. I'm
Yeah.
going to talk about basic stuff. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, grocery shopping.
Right.
Like, it's gotten better. Aldi used to close at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. What? Like, that's when my night starts going. Like, I literally, like, I don't even know when to buy my food. And like I said, things have gotten better. I've got a Penny right around the corner, open till 11. My favorite, go at like 10.
Okay.
It's great.
Right.
However, we're talking about like other things like tights, clothes, maybe. I
Hmm.
don't know. When am I supposed to do that when everything is closed at like
Yes.
6 o'clock?
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it's like, I live in Hamburg, second biggest city in Germany. Germany, third largest economy in the world. How?
How is this possible? How?
How is it possible that I can't buy things? It's like a prisoner's dilemma. It's a Teufelskreis. It's like a little terrible a circle of death or whatever it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only can I can't shop because I'm working. I can't find time to shop because the things are closed. And then if I do find the shop, guess what? I've only got my card and they don't accept it. So it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I wasted all this time for nothing. And so it's hard in that sense, like not only
Yeah.
like the payment, the transactional part of it, but just like finding time.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they'll have these random hours of like there's
They
a
do.
there's a like a coffee and cake place right down the street closed on a Tuesday. Explain that to me. Explain that. Closed on a
It's just
Tuesday.
random.
I'm
Yeah.
just
It's, I don't know. And I thought it was just out here in the country because out here they've got some strange things because like you say, it'll be completely closed on one day. Another day they will have an extended lunch break from 11 till 2 or something like that. And then one day they'll be open until 7 p.m. And
yeah,
you
and
just
they'll
have to
be
kind
like,
of figure it out.
and then you go in and it's like, hey, so where were you yesterday? And they're like, well, it's always been like that. And it's like they look at me like I'm an idiot, and I'm just like, okay, I'm obviously the idiot. Like I'm your consumer.
It's
Well,
not
so
it's not you, it's me, right?
yeah, and it's not only like physically trying to consume. Can we talk about the whole package thing? Like, I buy a packet, I buy something, the package
Mm,
gets sent to me. They try to send it to me, but like DHL, Hermes, Deutsche Post,
mhm.
I don't know what it is, but that does not go well.
No?
I don't get the little Lieferschein thing saying that they have my package.
Right.
It's at the place right down the street. Instead, I find out weeks later the baggage was at the place, but I never got the thing saying it was there, so they sent it back. I mean, this is countless times, and we're not only talking about like in Germany stuff. I'm talking about
Yeah.
international
Yeah.
stuff, getting them back to the U.S. So it's just really hard.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why.
No, I don't either. I don't either. And I can say here in the countryside as well, it is interesting because a lot of these people, actually the service providers more than the stores, they have business numbers, but it's also their home number. So when you call them, you get their kid answering the phone, and then you say, "Can I speak to your dad?" I guess, and then they say like, "Well, he's not here right now." And then I say, "Can he call me back later?" And then you never get the call back because obviously a 5-year-old is not going to
Yeah,
tell
yeah, yeah,
their
yeah.
father to call some guy that called during the day, and
Didn't
then
take
they
note.
say they're going to come around, and then you wait, and they don't come around, or they don't give. It's just it amazes me that they actually get business done.
So two things to that point. Favorite saying, ich melde mich.
Ich melde mich, yeah. You're never
Oh,
going to hear from him again. They're gone.
yeah.
They gone.
Tschüss. It's like anybody, yeah. It's like if anybody ever tells you ich melde mich, never count on it.
Yeah,
Second,
it's
Servicewüste. I'm sure this is the saying to you. Like when it comes to trying to get service, it's just a desert.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like generally when you call like a hotline, you have to pay for it in order to get help and service, which I just find hilarious. And then nobody generally answers. But it's the same, I mean, it's the same with like the Behörde thing. You know, they have like, that's what I mean by like things never being open, like an
Yeah.
authority, like an office, just like we're there for 1 hour. We've got an office hour.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Sprechstunde eine,
Like
as you
Stunde.
said.
Yeah. Es geht nicht rüber, like it will not be extended. In fact, we'll probably end 5 minutes early, and if you come, you know, if it ends at 1 and if you come at 12:55, we probably won't be there anymore.
Yeah. And they are sticklers about that. I remember there's even a bakery down here that we went down to on one day. It was a Saturday, I think, and they closed at 1 o'clock on a Saturday. And we knew that. We knew they closed at 1 o'clock.
On a
But we got three
Saturday?
kids. We got 3 kids and we headed off down for a walk. It takes about 10 minutes to get down there. And we got there literally 1 minute to closing time. 1 minute. They'd already shut the doors and they were packing up all the leftover rolls into and baked goods into packets. And then we like knocked on the window. We're like, of course they're going to let us in. Of course they. And like shaking their finger at us and saying no. That was it. That was it. Like, and there was not like we were one of 15 customers trying to storm in there. It was literally just us. So
Sean, I don't know. I don't get it. I laugh, not because I feel you. I like
yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's like that's what I'm saying. It's like you know, trying to go to the coffee, you know, trying to support it, just
yeah,
trying to do it, trying to consume, trying
yeah.
just to get my
Just
coffee.
I want to give you money. Like here's my money. I want to give it to you.
I literally just want to give it to you, and you make it so difficult. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm saying about hard to consume, hard to pay, third largest economy in the world.
yeah. Something's not adding up.
I don't know. Is it Wirecard?
It could be. Let's blame it on Wirecard.
I just don't know. But again, I mean these, and on the flip side, I mean, right? Like I know I complain about that, and I know that I love like, you know, being a consumer. Like you know, I was raised in like a very consumeristic
Yeah,
society. You know, everything all the time. And so I will say, like, that is something that I noticed even when I started studying abroad. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so weird. Like, I feel that's what I mean about like, and I don't know if there probably is for sure a correlation, but it's like, I don't need all of those things. Like, there's
yeah,
somehow this like kind of like inner happiness, and it's while it is annoying, I'm not gonna lie, it's really annoying when like I get off work late, and then it's like, I really just wanted milk,
yeah. That's
you know? And it's a Sunday, and I'm just
yeah,
like, I didn't plan that one because you gotta plan the things, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
That's really crappy, but it's like guess what? You'll survive and like you'll figure it out if it's not for that one day. Although it is annoying, like I think the overall benefit of
yeah.
things being closed and those other people, you know, being able to be off, I think a lot of Germans will say this as well, is
Yeah,
really important, you know, and it
yeah.
kind of like it brings me down a bit too and
It
kind of
is.
brings me down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. I've learned to appreciate the Sundays for what they are because for us, it's definitely
Yeah.
just family day. It's chilling out day and going to maybe seeing friends or something. But it would be nice to have an option. Like, I think it would be cool to just have an option. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah,
think back to the Sunday thing and something that kind of drives me crazy, if I may go on this
it
tangent,
absolutely may.
Kirchensteuer, aka the church tax.
Right.
We can talk about two taxes that I think are interesting, but the first one would be the Kirchensteuer. I live in the north, predominantly Protestant. You live in the south.
Yeah.
You know, generally, you got all of the great holidays when it comes to the Catholic religion.
Yeah.
We have, thank you, Martin, Reformation Day, October 31st. It's newly added because we were like, the North was like, we don't have enough
We
Feiertage, we
need.
don't have enough holidays. We'll give you Reformation Day.
You'll get that one.
Anyways, one day. Anyways, we also don't celebrate Carnival, but that's not an issue. And so it's interesting to see the amount of people that, Sunday is this holy, holy, holy day. Nobody goes to church, but we still pay the tax, right?
Mm,
And so I don't think it drives me crazy, but I just think it's another one of my fascinations of like, Germany is one of very, very few countries that has a church tax around
yeah.
3% of what you're
Yeah.
earning. And so it baffles me. You even have churches here in Hamburg that are being renovated to mosques because you don't have anybody attending,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But still kind of this, this this deep desire to still pay the tax and like give back and have,
Yeah.
Sunday free and, have things closed early, even though a lot of the society is,
Secular.
not, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Very, very secular society. Although I will say in Bavaria, it is more, I guess, religious. There's a lot more religious. But of course, if you don't pay the church taxes and you are somewhat religious, even if you are not like fully practicing and going to church every week, people still like to do things within their religion, like have weddings, if they're a Catholic wedding or a Protestant wedding or whatever. And you can't do that if you're not paying the church taxes. You don't get those things like what do they call the baptism. Yeah,
Yep.
You don't get to do that with your kids, and you don't get to have a church marriage or whatever if you don't pay the church taxes. I mean, that's pretty harsh, and it's a lot of money. Like it's a lot of money to be given. So it is very interesting.
It is, and I've even heard cases of you can't be like a godparent in some religions if you're also not in the church, right? So it's this very intricate way of dealing with it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, back to the taxes and all of these interesting things, I think.
Yeah.
Another one that interested me because I recently started earning money and paying taxes. I looked at my, the list of the taxes that I pay. The first one, I was actually very proud to pay the Solidaritätssteuer, solidarity tax for the East, as a way to even things out. And then I noticed, I don't know if you know this, Sean, it's quite funny. It's called the Kinderlosenbeitrag.
Kinderlosenbeitrag.
You pay money to not have kids.
You pay money to not have kids.
I'm not.
Well, I'm getting your money. I'm getting your money in my kindergarten.
You are.
Thanks, Alex.
You're welcome. It's interesting because it's only people who, in Germany, there's private and then there's the public insurance, to say. I'm in public, and so that's why it's based off of the solidarity principle. So that's why I'm paying, because I don't have kids, starting at the end of your 23rd year of life, you start paying this tax. And so I love that.
I had no idea.
I say Prost every month to the TK, and I go, I'm kinderlos, and I pay. I've never paid so much to have that. No kids. Woof, man.
I was not aware of that tax.
Well, look it up. It's a whole thing.
That is very interesting.
I even tweeted at them at TK. I was like, what is this? So
what's going on here?
It's a thing. It's been 2006, I think, is when it started. Kinderlosenbeitrag. I pay money to not have kids. Isn't that funny?
It's so hilarious. That is fantastic.
Yeah, so I think these are the reasons why I stay. Like, and I think we talked about that earlier, is like, I am on a daily basis fascinated. Like, of course, and there's like diminishing utility is very minimal. Here, and it's like, it keeps, even during this like pandemic and things are weird, but like things stay funny. The other day I was on my bike and there's this actually very useless light. It's useless. It's okay. Right. So bike straight. So I'm going, for the people not watching, another reason to watch the YouTube video.
Because she's doing little movements on her hand. She's showing you the direction of the bike.
Show you the bike. So I'm going.
Look at the bike.
I'm going straight. It's me, a lady about, a mother with her child, right. I don't know how old, child's 7, also on the bike. And I'm not going to lie. I hope I don't incriminate myself. I run this light pretty much every time it's red because
watch out, Alex.
It's useless, and I will write a letter because I think it causes more harm than it causes good. So I'm at a utilitarian principle right here, which I think that might have weight in some kind of court.
Probably.
It costs probably more than like it would. So anyways, the point is the light has no function because it's just the only way you can go is straight, and there's no traffic from either side.
Okay.
And so it turns red, and it makes no sense why you have to stop, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And so it was so funny. I'm on my bike, and I was gonna run it, but you can't do those things when the kids are around.
Right. No, that is sacred.
So I get cursed out. It's like, da sind ja Kinder. Ja, singen, danke.
I'm not their goddamn example. You are.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's me. Yeah, but the guy, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should stop. But I was running late to work, and then I see him, and I'm just like, oh shit, what do I do? And so, guess what happens? The mom starts moving, and I'm like, oh
Oh
my
no.
God, if she can move, then I can move. Gets better. The daughter behind her goes, Mama, es ist ja rot. And I go, es ist egal.
Just right away.
Mom goes, es ist so unnötig. And I was like, 100 pro, so
Okay.
unnötig. I
You're
was like,
like,
that's my life. And then guess what? Mom starts going, daughter starts going. And I was like, God, like, I don't know. It's like, maybe I'm just a weirdo, but like, I think it's great. And I think
that's a
it's
great
hilarious.
moment.
I think it's great. And I think it's hilarious. And it's like random stuff like that that makes me happy, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and the thing about it is that you can, like, I've lived in Germany for 13 years, and I still,
Yeah.
it's not boring. Like, I think that's what keeps you interesting, is if you there's always something you can learn, or something that you can haven't figured out, or someone will tap you on the shoulder and say something you haven't like figured out before, and or ask you a question that you don't understand. It's just interesting every single day, and even with all
Yeah.
the quirks, we love it.
Yeah. And I think it's even like little things. Even like I said, I love the sayings, and there's this really, you know, I'm sure you know it, Sean, maybe man sieht sich zweimal im Leben, like
Yeah,
you see each other two times in life,
yeah,
and it's just like I know it's gonna sound so weird, but like I was like, God, I've never heard that before, and
yeah,
like I was like, I think that is honestly so true, and like there's just all of these things where you hear it and it's just like it has just like a completely different meaning, or it resonates
yeah,
different, and it makes you
yeah,
see things different, and you're just like, wow, like that's what that's about, you know?
yeah.
Or like feeling like geborgen and at home, all of those like gemütlich, like all of
Gemütlich, yeah,
those German words where it's like, wow. Or even Wohngemeinde, like seriously, Wohngemeinschaft, like
yeah.
you can't
It's
translate it, and it's just, like it
no,
has like
you
deep,
can't.
like cozy, great feeling.
Yeah, yeah, it really
Yeah,
does. Like a feeling of friendship, a feeling of yeah. You just can't find a
yeah.
natural one-to-one translation.
No, you can't, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's I think kind of what draws me here on a daily basis. And the random zu fishing. Honestly, the amount of like Freude and happiness I just get when I'm like, oh, zu fishing. You never
to
know.
fishing.
You never know.
Yeah,
Sometimes if you go to like nicer parts of the city, you see like really cool. I mean, the chair
yeah.
is
That chair was
beautiful.
amazing.
For
That
those
chair
of
is
you
amazing.
again who aren't watching, I think this is probably a classic piece.
It
I
is
mean,
definitely a classic piece, and you are missing out for not watching the video for that chair. Like
you are.
seriously, that's
It's the
just
chair is good.
and that's just it's not just me trying to get you to my YouTube channel. It's genuine. Like
No,
you
it's
need to see the
genuine.
chair.
Yeah. And yeah, random like two fish, like they have like the Tausch boxes. I don't know if they have those where you are, where you just go exchange things. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
again, community, those kinds of things. I think it's also
yeah,
like it depends where you are in the city, but
yeah. It does.
yeah, it's good stuff.
Cool, Alex. It was so much fun chatting to you and hearing about your living arrangements and the scholarship aspects and your frustrations of Germany, which I
Yeah,
think we can all understand. And even Germans understand these things as well. Like often when I
yeah,
have an episode about something that I think, oh my God, I'm going to piss the Germans off when they hear us, they're like, this pisses us off as well. Like lines in the
yeah,
supermarket and whatever. Like that's not just you guys
exactly.
that get frustrated. It's us. So it was very
Yeah,
cool to hear about it. You have an account on Instagram called Deutsch AF.
I do.
Is that where people should find you, or do you have somewhere else people should find you?
Yeah, do the Deutsche AF. I honestly, Germany has influenced my connection to social media, so I feel like that's probably why my personal one is private.
Right.
Feel free to find me, but I generally do the Deutsch AF, Deutsch als Fremdsprache, of course, which is
Of course. Of
all of the
course.
random things that I find and just make me laugh and happy. So I hope they make you laugh and happy. Like I recently posted this. I was recently pandemic conform in Berlin. People just skiing in a flat area? What?
They go.
And the Schlitten.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everywhere, man.
And
Grown
everyone's
adults.
got a Schlitten. Everyone.
Grown adults. I don't get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow me at DeutschAF, and hopefully you can find funny stuff, some insights about Germany, random facts, and honestly just actually really good laughs because That's what
It is
that's
funny.
what we all need. That's what we all
Yeah,
need.
exactly.